So I figured I'd start off the video with a after shot of it done, with everything done. Sails washed, repainted, trailers done, nice new little rims on there that I painted. I mean, it is perfect. I've got the new compass, everything. I'm gonna go over in the video, but I mean, the whole rigging's not on because I didn't feel like moving the truck with it on and attached. But I figured I'm taking it out tomorrow with my old boss and everything. But what I'll do is I'll probably pop up some pictures of what it looked like before, and you're just going to follow along with me on the restoration of the video. I'm currently changing out the width of the boards because I noticed where it had been sitting previously was a softer spot in the fiberglass on the bottom. So I'm going to move the rungs out from 19 inches to 26, which will put it in a better spot for the boat so it doesn't cause any more spider cracks down the underside of it. So I realized they're rusted on and there's no way I'm getting them off. So brought the old skill saw. So I'm gonna get that on there and see if I can't get those off. I'm probably gonna have to get new brackets too. But always remember to wear your eye protection, and I'm even gonna wear a respirator and some gloves just because I'm not sure what kind of paint this is, just to ensure that I don't get any bad stuff in my lungs, eyes, or face or anything.
All right, so there's one. Now I gotta do all four, and I'm not even gonna try to do those ones up there with the ratchet set, just because I know they're probably locked up too. But yeah, we'll get to it. All right, so now the first one is completely off. I now have it off of here. Definitely gonna have to repaint this whole trailer.
Just removed those pieces of wood, and so now I'm actually gonna get those measurements real quick so I can get a piece of fabric for the wood, because I think I'm gonna keep the wood. It's a little old, but I can just put some fabric over it. And then I have to get 4 new things, so I'm also gonna get those measurements as well, because I'm gonna go to Lowe's and Walmart in just a bit. I ordered some Total Boat online for the bottom side of the hull of the Zuma, which I'm going to be repainting in the next couple days. All right, and I went and got this carpet from Walmart for I think about 20 bucks, and it's this kind of supposed to be a high traffic, color fading, UV resistant carpet, so you know it won't fade in the sun. And it's just black, since I figured I'd just go a black color, since I'm probably going to redo the trailer either black or probably white once I get all the paint stripped off of that. But now I'm going to make my measurements here with a straight line. So now that it's cut, I'm going to line it up, and I measured. This is a 2x4, so it's 1.5 inches this way and 3.5 inches this direction. So I multiplied the 3x2 and the 1x2, which gave me 10 inches. So I cut it to 12 inches wide here, so I'll at least have 1 inch of overlap over each end. So this will actually come up over this end to about where this is on the other side, which will give me enough to get in here. But I actually wanted to take off some of the wood as well, just because I noticed they were a little long when I first got it. And now I go down the line, putting one end on first. This is my first time doing it, so I figured it's probably gonna be trial and error. And then once I get down there, I'll probably cut a chunk out of the carpet, bring it together, and then bring it up just like this. But I'm gonna see if I can get it real nice and tight around this board. But I'm taking the hammer just to make sure these are in just enough. I just give them a little tap in there. All right, so now that I've gone down the entirety of the bunk, it does look a little warped now that I'm looking at it, but it should be fine. I mean, it's just for my Zuma, which is in there waiting to be painted for my paint to come in. But I've now gotten down to here where that is, and I've cut a line all the way through so that I can bring this down. What I'm gonna do is I'm also cut a line here to then make it even and go with the bunk. So we'll see how that turns out. Then staple here, and I put a bunch here just to ensure that when it does rub and go on the boat that it stays.
But I then cut here, so I can then fold this over and get it. It's not perfect. There's a slight gap, but I'm gonna see if I can't pull that towards it. But now that I have this cut down, pull this over, cut it here, cut the other side too, and I have that right there, so the bunk goes up. Let me put one more staple in there. All right, so now that is finished. Yeah. All around the edges, finished up and squared up, since this kind of was a pain in the ass because it feathered and ended up looking like that on the end. So just cut them off and almost like a little front of a shirt there. Stapled that end, stapled it here, and then that's the bunk. I also went ahead and put staples up front, since this is where the wind's going to be coming in from the trailer. I did leave this open, but I just wanted to put those there just so any wind doesn't bust open the whole thing. So yeah, now that I'm on the second one, I noticed with this type of carpet, it kind of makes it easier to follow a line if you cut it from the like the underside of the carpet, because you can just follow one of the grooves, and then it makes it easier to just put it along the wood and staple it. They're both done. Now I got to pick up. Obviously, it's a little cluttered, but now I have to get the width figured out and the little things that keep it on there repainted. But first is a clean up. The reason I'm getting all these bunks ready for the trailer is because I've completely sanded. So I figured I'm gonna completely repaint the boat. And so I've gone through the entire process of sanding it to where it's, you know, relatively all nice and smooth. I went around, I filled holes with my favorite go-to marine tech. So this used to be a big gouge. It's full, completely flat. I filled that. Filled a little fiberglass gouge that was in here. And so actually there was a big crack here as well. But so what I found, the reason I'm widening the bunks is because it's a little softer of fiberglass right about here. And this is where the bunks were sitting. And so if you look, these are little spider cracks. That's what I call them. They almost look like little spider webs. That where, when it would get on the trailer, this is where the bunks would hit, and it would cause cracking there. So what I'm doing is I'm widening the trunks to a firmer. So instead of, I think it was 17 inches apart, I think I'm going about 26, if I remember the measurements correctly. So where it's here, it doesn't give it at all, you know? So probably actually gonna do about like right here. So that's probably about 26, I believe. So those will run all the way down. And so what I did, I have to clean it off again. It's been sitting for a little bit. I'm waiting on my paint in the mail. I went around, and if you look, these are all flat. But I've went around and I've filled all these little holes, and they look a little rough now. And I may actually still go over them to completely fill it. There's a few that, you know, I just kind of expect to get worse, but there's a huge chunk taken out of here. It's completely black. So if you look here, it's relatively filled. So I'm actually going to go back over, and there's this stuff Total Boat makes, but I honestly don't think I'm going to put that much money into this, since most of the paint will fill these relatively, and it is the bottom, so it's going to keep getting scratched up. I filled all the ones that I think would cause cracking and everything. But, you know, I figured all this stuff would get filled in a little bit if you look. But all this stuff here filled in with marine tech. And none of it was fiberglass damage necessarily, except the one up there. And so I actually went around the back here and filled in a little gouge and sanded away a bit here, because this was completely divoted and cracked. And then so this bit here, so it was originally going all the way across, but what was happening was it was causing a groove to be in the wood. And so I actually put it back on to see what was making that groove. And I had completely, these are, I have stuff on my hands, so it's not making it any better. But these are completely redone. I sanded all the old finish off. I think I'll include some pictures that I took throughout the process. Completely sanded all the old finish off, and I used teak oil to make them a little darker. So I put a teak oil, 2 coats of that, let it sit, soak in and everything, and then I poly coated it. So I took some polyurethane, and what I'll do is I'll list everything that I used in the description. But so then I used 3 coats of polyurethane to give it a good sheen as well as a protection coat from the water. And so right now it's just a little dusty because I've been sanding and blowing. But this is actually, the tiller actually broke. So this is a straight version of it that I made out of oak from Home Depot. And so all I did was I took here and I cut the same groove. So when this closes here, completely closes, it gives still a little bit of a gap. But then I actually tried to stain it 2 color. I use this old stain, which I'll also put in the description. It's not a perfect color match, but it's a lot darker. And then I added the original tiller extension, which I've tied because it is just training the rubber. All right, so now I wait for everything else to get here in the mail, like the paint for the boat and everything else, the bunk things. And I'm not running out to the store right now until a little later. So I'm gonna go ahead and take all the wiring off of here, as well as the lights. And heck, I may even take the tires off too. And I'm gonna start removing the big chunks of rust and paint and get it ready to repaint. And so I like doing things relatively in an order, whether or not it's from bottom to top or front to back or back to front, whichever. But so right now, I'm gonna get my ratchets ready to take off the lights, remove all the little zip ties going up, take all the lights off completely, get it all nice and organized. And then I may even, since these are kind of rusty and I don't really like the way they look, because they're not really even on each side, I may take these off as well. And then I'm gonna start seeing where all the big paint chunks are, get that stuff off of there. And then once those are off, I'm gonna see what to do next. And I do want to point out what I did here when I was putting the grounding wire, because that's really important. Most of the times I've ever wired anything up and it hadn't worked was because the grounding wire wasn't properly connected. So I actually grinded a slit in the trailer to where when this nut runs through, that when that locking washer goes over it, it presses it into the trailer. And I made sure all the paint wasn't there, so you know it was getting good contact with the trailer. Now that those are completely off, we're gonna get to seeing what we can do with it. So I figured I would pressure wash the flakes off. So this is working pretty well. Here, I'll give you a little example. It's working pretty well. I'm literally probably almost done with that. That's all the loose paint I could get off with this. And then if that's enough, I'll just go over with black. I just needed enough of the flakes so I don't put the black on some paint that'll just chip right off. So I am currently redoing the trailer while I wait on the boat paint for the Zuma. So I'm just gonna take this apart because it's super hard to move this. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna WD some 40 on there, and then I'm gonna just clean these up a bit, and just with some WD-40 and a little brush to get them a little smoother. And then I'll probably end up putting these back on and repainting over them for the trailer. So I've now put that back on. I may change the chain later on, but I think it looks good enough. I'm not going all out, making it like super nice. I'll do that with the boat when the paint comes. But yeah, looks pretty good. Now I just cut 4 equal slices of this little bar that I'm gonna then attach the bunks to the trailer with. All right, so now that I have these and the holes bored out in here, now I know that these can fit. I'm gonna go ahead and secure them with a lock washer and a flat washer on this side, a lock washer on the other with the nut. So I'll show you the after. Now that each one of those are on there, I'm gonna see about where by lining the bunks up, see where the other holes are because they're not perfectly symmetrical. Now that those are on, I went ahead and screwed in the screws to the wood, which I'll show you how I did that in a minute. Now I'm gonna put the holes there, widen them a bit, and then put it on the next one. And one thing I didn't think about when I first started doing boats, when I was first learning, was stainless steel. I think I actually chipped a bit here. I gotta repaint that. Stainless steel bolts, always, just so they don't rust. So if you look here, they're actually just a bit closer, the holes, than the holes here. So what I did is I put them in at the same time, and it kind of spreads them apart, but they have enough play to where I can then crank them in and use the tension created from the distance within the holes to get them a little farther to where I can put the lock washer on the other side and get the nut over. All right, and it's by no means perfect yet. It's a whole lot better than it was. I still have to paint the underside of the wheel well and the underside of the, I guess the guards. It looks pretty good. It's just one coat, and I think that's what I'm gonna stick with. Most of it's good. Like I said earlier, I was gonna take the spray paint, spray the little undersides of it in between, and it seems like it turned out pretty well. And you can still see kind of where the paint, was there, but I think it kind of gives it a little cool little kind of finish. It's a little wet, just because I had it out and it started drizzling and I didn't realize. So it should be fine. It was relatively dry. I'm just gonna let it dry in the garage for about 24, 48 hours. And by the time that is done drying, I should have the paint. I can start painting her. So now that I have everything put together, and so what I noticed when I was putting it in the garage is not only does, so I can't tell if you can tell, but that trailer tire is just a little tilted, which kind of messes with the level of the trailer. Not a big deal. But also this piece of wood is kind of bowed. I kept it snug so it's like nice and tight on there, but it's just something I kind of noticed to where you're looking and it's just kind of off center. But I'm gonna go ahead and put the trailer lights back on and see how that looks, and I'm probably gonna end up wiring them underneath the underside, since when I was removing the old wires they ran through the trailer, and I would have liked for that to have continued, but I did it on a previous trailer to where I tied the new wires to the old wires that were running through here, through it, and then I pulled the new wires through the trailer through the front end of a hole up there, and I was able to wire it through. But since the wires aren't there, there's a hole that runs here to all the way over here, which I would then put the wires through to run under the underside, up through the underside of here, run through that bar and out through the center, just to make it a little easier. But I don't have the ability to do that or feel like really doing it, so I'm just gonna wire it under the underside of here. All right, now the lights are on, and tomorrow morning the mail should be here, and we'll get to paint the boat to put on the trailer. And all I did is I zip tied, the parts where they connect through the underside, around the underside of here, all the way under to the front end, and the grounding wire I shaved off a little bit of paint so it has good contact to the whole metal throughout it, because the paint will stop it from being grounded. But this is that grounding wire. Runs up along the right side of it. Since I'm right-handed, make it easier because I'm usually on the right-hand side. Plugs right into the truck. All right, now that they're wired up, just attached it, checking it to see if it works. And they're good. So now all I'm doing is I'm taking the tire off.
So I've got it back over here. I'm going to tighten up the lug nuts. It's back on here and it looks a whole lot better. I'll see if I can see it from the side. Yeah, it's a whole lot better. No more white spots. So that's completely done. So now that the trailer is done, which is outside connected to the truck, I'm gonna go ahead and completely clean off the bottom side of the Zuma, because I've gone ahead and if you look in certain places, it's a little dirty because it's been sitting. I've sanded the entire thing. I've gone over it one time with heck, I think it was 80 grit, then 120, then 220, and I've completely, it's out of focus there. There you go. I've completely filled in all the holes. This was a hole here. I had to sand it down to there just to make it nice and flat. And then there were a bunch of stuff here that I filled in. This is just little itty bitty holes, you know, that are gonna get filled in with the paint. I'm not worried about it not being perfect, but I definitely want it to look good, so I filled in the deep gouges. I should have filmed that process, but all I used was this stuff right here, Marine Tex. So all you do is you take it, and I think it's a 1-to-1 or 3-to-1, I think actually. I lied. Yeah, so it's a 3-to-1. You take 3 parts of the putty and 3 parts of the, I'll show you, 3 parts of the curing agent, which is a little catalyst you just put in there, mix it on a little piece of cardboard. That's why I have these little pre-cut cardboard mixers and this little bunch of these little things that I mix it on. And all I did was I went over the entire bottom side of the boat, put that stuff in there, and went over everything. I filled in this crack, went over looking. I'm currently filling in these, but I'm gonna do that once the bottom side's done, so that once this is done, I can flip her over, put her on the trailer, and then paint the top side. But then once I do, I'm gonna take these and fill this in with Marine Tex as well. So now all I'm doing is I'm waiting on the paint. But while I've been waiting for that to arrive, I've taken everything off of the boat. These are the little foot rails. I painted those black. They were originally, I think they were white, but they had cracked all down. So what I did is I went through it and I've repaired all the cracks. So all the places that had cracks all the way through, I took little pieces of, I'm trying to see if I can find one, of little rebar, and I glued it in there. So it gives it a little more tensile strength. So if it pulls, it has to pull the whole rebar out. But so I repaired all those cracks and glued the whole thing up. Painted it with Rustoleum black just to match the trailer. And they look pretty good. They're not perfect, but they're good enough. I actually dropped one of the screws, I guess. But so I then took this, which is the rudder holder, painted it black as well. I left this silver just because it kind of looks cool. Painted that black. Painted these. And then this is the dagger board slider you put on the underside. I'll show you how everything works with this. I ordered 2 new of these online, so they should be coming in. They almost look like this, but I think they're black. And I wanted to order a new one of these, which I think I still may. They just didn't have the size I was looking for. It's 7/16, so it's a little less than a half. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've cleaned this up, made it look nice. But so yeah, I'm just waiting on my Total Boat White Krypton stuff to get in. So while I'm waiting on that, I'm gonna wipe her down with acetone, make sure she's all completely clean so the paint sticks a whole lot better to the boat. So I've gotten my paint I'm gonna put a picture up on the screen of exactly what I got. I just got a quart because it's pretty expensive, and I didn't think I needed a gallon just because I'm doing the bottom. I may need to do a couple coats, so we're gonna see how um, far I can make it last, or long I can make it last, or how much I can get out of it. Um, it says a gallon does, is it like 500 square feet? It says on here. So if I'm doing the math right, 4 quarts in a gallon, that's 251, about 125 would be 125 square feet per quart. So I think that math's right. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right, now that she's done, I ran out of paint, so I definitely can't do a third coat unless I order more, and I don't think I'm gonna. Just because it looks good enough. I would like it to be perfect. I like shit to be perfect, but it's mine, so I'm not super concerned about it being perfect. I mean, it's not bad. So I'll show you guys. So you kind of see it, just a little, just a tad. Um, ran out of paint towards the end there, so I definitely couldn't be able to do a third coat. But I think it looks kind of cool, you know, as is. It's not perfect, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, I ran out of paint, which stinks. Um, I wish I wouldn't have. It would have been really nice, but I spilled it earlier, so that's on me. It's on me. Um, so you live and you learn. If you want to do a Zuma, you need a little more. You could do it with a quart if you're super. Heck, you could probably thin it, but like honestly, I would just go with a gallon because the gallon would have given me way more than enough, and then some. You know, because I mean, you can still see the line, so you're definitely gonna want um, to do a gallon if you're doing a boat like this. It's the same as a laser, I think. Apparently, it's the same rigging, same sail. So you definitely want to go with a gallon because that was not enough. So I went ahead and taped up a straight line, which honestly took a while because I wanted to get it. I say perfect. It's not going to be perfect, but it's pretty straight. I went through a bunch of renditions of it, just because I kind of like things to be nice, you know. So you look, and it's along the other side as well, relatively straight. You know, it's not going to be perfect. I don't expect it to be, but it looks relatively straight. So all I did was probably gonna press that down too. Here, let's see. All I did was I went to Lowe's, and so I learned something. I'm not a painter. Um, I normally just do a bunch of other stuff on the boat. But so I learned that oil base you got to use with oil base, and water base you got to use with water base. So I got a Rust Tough protective high gloss enamel, and then I color matched it. So you know it's a tintable base, and it's high gloss. Just because the other stuff I used was high gloss, and so I figured I would just do a big blue line down the side along kind of where the other blue line was, but it's matching the color of the bottom of the sail. So I figured purple, blue, light blue to the light blue on here. So it would kind of blend a little better, since the color that was on here previously was a little even darker than that blue there. So it didn't really match. But so I got this one that'll match a little bit. If you look there, it's relatively the same color. Hopefully it turns out drying that way. On here, prep wise, I don't think I need to prep too much since it's in oil on oil. It's been curing for about 72 hours. So I think it should be fine. All I did was I got a roller, and I went with, I forget what the kind of roller it was, but it's not like a foam roller, but it's like it's a little more expensive than a foam roller, but the other foam roller I used kind of left here. If you look here, it started falling apart a little bit. So that's the piece of the foam in there on that. And I think it actually dinged up. I think that was a divot in and of itself. But if you look, everywhere else is fine. But, when it got down to here, it started, the foam roller started, I guess, falling apart. It's a little like that on the other side. But other than that, it looks, I'm trying to get a good, there we go. It's in focus. It looks good. It's got a little texture to it, but, I would have really liked it to turn out flat, but that's, I guess, not the texture of the boat. So I guess it goes with the texture of the boat. But all I got was this, and then the little foam paint brushes to get down in the crevice with. I got two just in case I need them. Never used them, so we'll see what happens. And then I got a little foam roller. So we're gonna see how it turns out. And this is my first time doing it, so you're learning alongside me. So now, before the other side dries, I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side on the underside of there as well. But once that dries, peel that off, and it seems like it turned out pretty good. It looks good so far. Hopefully that hopefully that straight line's straight. But once that's on, it's painted, peel that off, 4 hours, and put her on the trailer, and she's done on the bottom side. Now it's just top side. So that's exciting. But we'll see how it turns out. I'm gonna paint the other side and do a little time lapse of that as well, and then we're good. Heck yeah. So I went ahead and let it cure for about 48 hours because the paint, I noticed, had not dried at all. And I finally got in here, and it's dried. Some of the thicker places, around the edge and inside the little lip is not completely dry, but it's definitely not as tacky as it had been for the past probably 24 hours. I came in here and I tried to just see, and it was not ready yet. So I went ahead and let it cure for about 48 hours, and now it's dry enough to where I've been peeling. And then if you look, it's perfectly ready. I've already peeled this one end here, and then I have to get in here with a little acetone. That's where I drew my line for the first time to see if I wanted to put it right there. So I went ahead and peeled, and it looks great. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to peel down the line. And I went ahead and peeled a bit up here as well, just to see if it was dry up here. And it looks great as well. It looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and peel it. I'm going to do a little time lapse of peeling it, and then we'll go over how everything looks. She is 100% done. Yeah, she looks great. So if you Down here, all she does is come to a point, and all I'm gonna do is sand down, fill in this little gap. That's really it. And then all this stuff is marine text, and so sand that down once it's flipped back over and redo the top, and then she's good. Yeah, she looks great. Got her flipped over on the trailer. I'll show you what she looks like from the front. She looks good from there down. So she fits perfectly on the trailer. Feels a whole lot more secure with the widened bumpers and the bunks. But she's pretty rough on the top. I've done some filling in already, just when I was kind of puttering around when I first got her. I'm trying to see where I did some of the spider crack fillings. Yeah, back here. So I went ahead and just drilled some holes in each one of the ends of the cracks. Maybe a little big, but I'm just going to fill those in with marine text once that's done, so it'll stop the cracking, because that's a pressure point right there where I'm going to be kind of butt ends here. This is where the pulls on from the boom running across. So, it'll kind of always kind of get spider cracked. And back here too, I'll put some in here, and then I'm going to go over and fill that. So it'll just add some more stability. That's what I'm really looking for. And then clean it up a bit. It's as clean as it's going to get. I'm going to sand everything down. All right. If you made it this far in the video, we're done for part 1. So make sure you guys subscribe and turn on that bell icon so that you can get notified when the next part comes out, which should be on Friday. This is coming out on Tuesday. So that'll be out on Friday. I just have to edit it. The boat's all done, as you saw from the intro. I just gotta edit all the videos. It's January 2nd, so it's a little cold out, so I probably won't be sailing soon. Hopefully, maybe in a couple weeks, I'll get that video out there, but I'm gonna do a rigging video on how to rig it, and then I'm also starting the sailing club at UWF. So I'll also put some videos up on that. So if you guys are interested, make sure you stay tuned. Hit that like button. It really helps out, because if you're anything like me, I love these kinds of videos. So if you like it, subscribe. Comment is even better. So because that way, if you have any questions or maybe you have some suggestions, I always love suggestions, because I'm not the master craftsman. Maybe you guys are. So yeah, if you guys liked it, it really helps get the videos out to everybody else who also may like these types of videos. So yeah, I'm just trying to see if I forgot anything. Taking little notes on my computer, because I'm not a professional filmer. I just do boats and stuff. So this is the first time doing this. So I'm super excited. But yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Safe sailing. See you guys next time.